On November 4th, Novak Djokovic silenced the Parisian crowd. As Djokovic sent Holger Rune off the court, the Serbian mastermind was met with boos and a heated exchange with the Empire. But he brushed them off, marching into the semifinals, extending his incredible winning streak. And just days later, he added the Paris Masters to his incredible supremacy of big titles. As Djokovic, the world number one, sets the standard with his 40th ATP Masters trophy, he still leaves room for the impossible. Every point of Djokovic's career led him to this point in his career, the ultimate high. This is the extraordinary story of Novak Djokovic. Djokovic started playing tennis when he was only 4 years old. It all started when his parents gave him a mini racket and a soft foam ball. This little play became Djokovic's most prized toy in his life. It was not long before his parents realized their son's potential and decided to send him to tennis camp in Novi Sad. But it was the summer of 1993 that truly changed his fate. Djokovic was sent to a tennis camp set by Teniski Klub Partizan, which Yugoslav tennis player, Jelena Gencic, oversaw. While his parents ran a fast food parlor for the camp, young Djokovic trained. Gencic convinced Djokovic to hit his backhand with two hands instead of one like his idol, Pete Sampras, and the rest was history. But life as a kid growing up in the Balkan region was never easy. During the Yugoslav wars in the late 1990s, Djokovic had to endure embargoes and NATO bombings. The fear he felt as a child during that time drove Djokovic to pursue tennis with an ever more determined hand. At one point, he even trained in an abandoned swimming pool. He would play against the wall just to improve his technique. When Novak moved to the USA, his father took loans to fuel his dream. This later became the #1 reason for Djokovic's incredible ability to perform under pressure. When Djokovic entered his junior year, he came off as a dominant player. From under 14 to under 16, Djokovic won prestigious tournaments in France and Miami, including La Boule, La Poète, and the Prince's Cup. He reached a combined junior world ranking of number 24 in February 2004. His best performance in junior Grand Slam events was reaching the semifinals of the Australian Open in 2004. And he also participated in the French Open and US Open junior events in 2003. In 2003, Djokovic turned professional and kick-started his ATP tour. At the beginning of his career, he primarily played in futures and challenger tournaments, winning several of each from 2003 to 2005. Djokovic finished his debut year ranked number 78, the youngest player in the top 100. In 2006, Novak Djokovic faced his first ever challenge. He went up against Rafael Nadal in his first Grand Slam quarterfinal at the 2006 French Open, and he lost. It was only much later in 2006 that Djokovic won his first ATP titles at the Dutch Open and the Moselle Open. 2006 ended with Djokovic at number 16, becoming the youngest player in the top 20. 2007 was the year when Djokovic won the Indian Wells Masters, propelling himself to a top 10 player. Then, he won his very first Masters Series titles at Miami Masters. He also got his revenge on Nadal when he won the Canadian Open. By the end, Djokovic was number 3 on the ranking, qualifying for year-end championships. Still, the world had not seen Novak Djokovic just yet. When 2008 came, Djokovic won his first Grand Slam singles title at the 2008 Australian Open. He also went on to win the Indian Wells Masters, the Italian Open, and his first year-end championship, the Tennis Masters Cup, in Shanghai. From 2009 to 2010, Novak Djokovic wanted to win 6 titles and claim Serbia's first Davis Cup championship. Just when the world thought he could not be any better, Djokovic rose to number 1 in 2011, marking it as one of the greatest seasons in tennis history, winning 3 Grand Slam titles. The Australian Open, Wimbledon, and US Open in one row. He conquered the number 1 ranking for the very first time. After this, the tennis establishment became witness to one of the greatest on-court plays of all time. From 2013 to 2019, Djokovic went on to win almost all titles, defeating his notable opponents, Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. He faced minor hiccups like injuries and conflicts with his longtime coaching team with Marian Vida. Because of this, Djokovic found himself fighting to keep himself number one against Murray, Federer, and Nadal. To date, only Nadal has come close to matching Djokovic's legacy. 2020 was the start of a new era for Djokovic, but also controversies. When 2020 came with a wave of a worldwide pandemic, COVID-19, Djokovic refused to get vaccinated. This cost him a lot of tournaments and exhibitions. Despite this, he went on to win his 8th Australian Open title and 5th Dubai Championship and reclaim his throne of number one. In 2021, whilst winning his 18th Grand Slam title at the Australian Open, Djokovic also found himself in hot waters. The world criticized him for issuing a list of requests that reportedly included players being given private homes with tennis courts. But he was never bothered by public noise. He focused on being the best and surpassed Roger Federer's record for weeks as the world number one. He also achieved a career Grand Slam by winning the French Open for the second time and claimed his 20th Grand Slam title at Wimbledon. Djokovic secured the year-end number one ranking for the 7th time. In 2022, Djokovic still found himself under public scrutiny for his vaccination status. The matter got so much out of hand that his visa for the Australian Open was cancelled and he was deported. He couldn't even compete in the US Open due to vaccination requirements. Djokovic focused on the forward, won his 38th Masters title at the Italian Open, and secured his 6th ATP Finals title and the year-end number one ranking for the 15th time. Coming to the present, Novak Djokovic is better than ever. He claimed his record-extending 10th Australian Open title. He recorded himself as the player with the most weeks as world number one on both the men's and women's tours. Yet this was not the start. He also achieved a triple career Grand Slam by winning the French Open. But then, something unusual happened. The great Novak Djokovic lost Wimbledon to Carlos Alcaraz at only age 20. It had seemed there was a new contender for greatness against Novak. Djokovic did not take this lightly. He was phased and thrown off. Yet still, Djokovic went on his 39th Masters at Cincinnati and 24th Grand Slam at the US Open. Currently, Novak Djokovic is up against Andrei Rublev for the semi-final of the Paris Masters, and he won. After an intense final with Grigor Dimitrov, Djokovic extended his Hall of Fame and winning streak by bagging this grocery as well. In recent years, Novak has become a somewhat hated tennis player on the court because of his alleged displays of dramatic injuries, delays, and elitism. Whenever he is asked about it, he always answers with one thing: haters are a good problem to have. Nobody hates the good ones, they hate the great ones. Djokovic's legacy is attested by the likes of Forbes, Reuters, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, Marca, Tennis World USA, Australian Broadcasting Corporation, and Sporting News. Many regard him to be the greatest male tennis player in history. With 69 big titles and 24 Grand Slams, Novak Djokovic is the biggest challenge in tennis today. The aggressive baseline player with deep penetrating ground strokes, Novak Djokovic has the world in complete and utter awe. From his difficult childhood and training to his rise to the ultimate high, is a clear sign that he will go down in tennis history as the greatest of all time. Here is to celebrating a historic tennis career that continues to unfold and overwhelm. This is the success story of Novak Djokovic. If you like this video, subscribe for more.